In essence, this song could hardly be simpler. There are just 4 chords that cycle round and round like this. And that really is everything. But there's some nifty picking, the instrumental opening to the song, and then of course the finger picking that Paul Simon does in the verse, which is a standard Travis picking pattern, but we need to tweak it a little bit to make it work for the chords that we've got. So let's look at those chords. We start with a C. Then we've got G over B. Now normally I'd play my G this way, and if I just miss out the bottom string, well then I've got a B in the bottom, so that's G over B. But instead of putting a note on the 3rd fret of the top string, I want to move it down to the 2nd string and then not play the top string. The reason for that is that if we go back to the C chord, can you hear how the bottom note C harmonizes with that top note E? That's an octave and a third. That's a really lovely consonant interval. And if we then move down to our G over B, especially if I put a note there on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, that's my D, that harmonization continues. The top notes are moving in parallel with the bass notes. And again, when I go to my A minor 7, which is the next chord, I'm going to leave out the top string, so the note on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, that's a C, again harmonizes in the same way with the bass note. And finally, when I get to my G chord, which is the 4th chord, again I'm going to miss out the top string. So altogether, I get these pairs of notes descending. Now you'll see this sort of thing an awful lot if you're going from G to C or from C back to G. If you see my video on Take It to the Limit by the Eagles, it's exactly the same kind of thing. It features in A Case of You by Joni Mitchell, a very similar thing there. A song I haven't covered is Blackbird by Paul McCartney, where it's exactly that kind of thing in reverse. I've covered it in my video on passing bass notes, and also of course in Scarborough Fair. And far be it from me to suggest that Paul Simon looked at that and thought, oh, I could build an entire song around that, but you know, he might have done. Anyway, here they are. And let's just go through the verse. The verses are all exactly the same because this just keeps going and going, and it's 7 times through this. Each one lasts for 2 beats, so in fact it's 14 bars. Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last. Just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. La 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 la, feeling groovy. And we're into the 2nd verse, which, as I say, it does exactly the same thing. All right, well, let's look at the picking that really sets this off. In fact, as I said, this is a bog standard Travis picking pattern, certainly for the G, and we're just going to need to make some little tweaks to the rest of it. But for the G chord, which is the template for this, we're going to put the thumb on the bottom string, which is where you'd expect it to be. It kicks off with the bass note, and my picking fingers, my 1st and 2nd fingers, are up on the 2nd and 3rd string. So I've got my 2nd finger on the 2nd string, 1st finger on the 3rd string, and it works like this. I have 2 pairs of notes that combine to create a 4-note pattern. The thumb on the bottom string, 2nd finger on the 2nd string. That's that harmonizing pair. In Travis picking, this is often called the outside pair. So there it is. And then I come inside. If I turn, you can perhaps see a little better. My thumb is going to come up to the 4th string, and then my 1st finger is going to play the 3rd string. That's the outside pair. 6th string and 2nd string, and then 4th string and 3rd string. So the thumb is going to switch between 6 and 4, 6 and 4. And this really needs to become a knack, nice and smooth. And when it's got some flow, we'll move on to the other chords. Now, of course, the other chords have a bass note on the 5th string. So here it is for C. My thumb's now moved up to the 5th string. Everything else is the same. 5th string, 2nd string, 4th string, 3rd string. Same for G over B. And for A minor 7. Okay, and then to G. So all together we've got this. These 4 notes, they're 8th notes, so that's the entirety of the first chord. We play the pattern once and then we move on. Okay, and that's everything. Okay, a couple of tweaks we need to make. The very first thing to say is that we don't play straight. These 8s, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. They're actually swung. So it's more. There's almost a triplety feel, which is how people often describe swing rhythm. Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last. Okay, but the final tweak we need to make so we can get this kind of harmonizing series of pairs of notes is that the outside pair on the C chord includes the top string rather than the second string. So it's not this, it's that. And if I'm a proper Travis picking player, I'm going to use my 3rd finger for that just to pick up that note, but I might use my 2nd finger. Okay, so all together now we've got this. It doesn't very much matter in the song if you miss that top string, but that's where it is. Let's look a bit more closely at this pattern, just on the G. There are a couple of very common alterations to this, or variations that might just creep in, and they both revolve around the top note of the pattern, either being moved forward or being moved back. If it's moved forward, it coincides with the first thumb note. So instead of this, we get this. So we have 2 notes at the beginning, they last for a beat, and then we get our 2 8ths like this. And because we're now missing an 8th after the first thumb note, you might fill that in with a note on the 3rd string. Okay, so that's very common, and that's just going to add a little bit of punctuation, a bit of structure to create some variety. And the other one would be to just delay it until it coincides with the 2nd thumb note on the 2nd beat of the pattern. So that's 1, and when you're picking through this song, yeah, I've used both of them. I used the first one on the C, and then we got to the G. So I can do that again. Switched and swapped them about a little bit, but you can see how that creates some offbeat accents, some surprising syncopation, and so on. And when we look at the intro instrumental now, you'll see this kind of thing in action. Now the intro is actually more of the same, but I've got it tabbed out, and we do this. We don't actually play anything on the first beat, it's 3, 4, 1. So it starts on the 2nd beat, 1, 2, and then the outside pair played together, coming down to the 3rd string, and then the 4th string with the thumb. And he does that for all 3 of the next chords. So C is there, and then, okay, except to say, on the A minor 7, where we've got a finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, he doesn't play that there, he leaves that open. 1. Okay. The other thing to say is that when we get to the G, he actually begins with a note on the 7th fret and slides that down to the 3rd fret. It's quite clever. while we're playing the upper notes. So the whole of the first two bars, 1. Okay. Very similar thing for the next two bars. The only difference really is that we kick off on the first beat with a C. We don't follow up with the third string for the inside pair on the C. Not that it really matters, you don't have to play this note for note, obviously. And then we get this, so you can see there's another variation there. And the second bar is exactly as we had it for the first time through. The third one is more of the same. And the final one does this, just as the second time does, but we end this way. And rather than getting down to the G, we go up here to a G, which is a 3-string shape like a D displaced up to the 7th and 8th frets. Okay, so those final two bars. Okay, so up to this point, the whole of the intro. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, and then we have another two bars. It's slightly odd where we have this walk up. We wait almost a whole bar, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's that. We play the open string, 2nd fret on the bottom string, then the 3rd fret, then the 5th, then the 7th, and we could be doing that instead, but it all happens on the 6th string because he does this odd kind of sliding up thing. Okay, so I'm sliding up each time. So if I go from the previous two bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing, and you can make that as ostentatious as you like. Slow down, you move too fast, and then we launch into the verse. Okay, let's have a playthrough, and I'm going to play through the original form, which is the 8-bar instrumental intro plus the odd kind of 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we've got 14 bars of verse, which is 7 times round this sequence. 7 times round for the first verse, 7 times round for the second verse, and the third verse on the original just kind of fades out. So I don't know how many times we should play that, but I'm going to play it 7, and then we're going to add 1 for luck, and I'm just going to do this to finish the song. And new for this video, I'm going to add my backing track to the end of my playthrough so you can play it through yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last. Just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. La 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 la, feeling groovy. Hello lamppost, what you know when I've come to watch your flowers growing? Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Do-do-do-do, feeling groovy. La 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 la, feeling groovy. Got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dappled and drowsy and ready for sleep. Let the morning time drop all its petals on me. Life, I love you all as groovy. that's it.